Welcome, everybody, to a special video version of the Deeks.ai podcast. And today, I think we have a pretty cool, or I should say, Ryan has a pretty cool idea lined up for us. We're going to be taking a look at Notebook LM. Why don't you give people a little bit better of an idea of exactly what that means, Ryan?
Yeah, NotebookLM is one of these free tools from Google that uses Gemini as its backend, but I like to call it the second most useful AI tool out there after most of your general assistants, your
Yeah.
chatbots and stuff like that. It's such a really interesting, cool tool that summarizes information and allows you to take a lot of information that you have in different sources and put them together and then interact with that information and chat with that. And it was originally built for the classroom, but it's sort of jumped beyond the walls. It's used in all kinds of areas. But what we want to go over today is basically the original use case of Notebook, of how
Hmm.
students can create a study guide. So we have a little demo prepared for you about how to use NotebookLM to create a study guide. And we've made a fictitious course. It's an artificial intelligence course, obviously, that a student would do. And we're going to bring in some sources and see how it would be used. So what do you think? Does that sound
That's,
like a good idea, Michael?
that sounds awesome. I'm excited for it. As someone who likes to do a lot of learning in my free time on various topics and everything, this is pretty exciting. I'm happy to see it in action.
Okay, well, we're gonna follow along with this video that I made because unfortunately there's a little bit of waiting that's going on, and so we cut some of that out in the video. So we Michael and I will explain what's going on. But if you just go to notebooklm.google.com, anybody with a Google account, Gmail address can get in. So what we have here is the main page of NotebookLM. And if you have already created notebooks, all your notebooks are stored here. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually create a new notebook. And then as once we do that, we're going to import our sources. And in NotebookLM, you can import all kinds of things. It's like the trapper keeper, if to really date myself, of sources. You can put things like Google Docs, Google Slides, Sheets, YouTube clips, audio files, PDFs, web pages, Word documents, text files, images, and copy and paste the text. And if none of that works, just turn anything into a PDF. So I'm going through very quickly here, and I'm going to pause it to explain to you what I've done. But I brought in different web pages. Now I want to say why it's a web page and not a web site, because
Mhm.
the links that you bring in don't crawl through extra links. So it doesn't go through the deep links. It's only getting the text for what is on the page that you bring in. So anytime you want to bring in multiple pages, you have to bring in multiple links. So what I've done, as you can see, I've collected a bunch of links to certain pages and we've brought them in. So these are the web pages we're bringing in. And you can only bring in public pages, so nothing behind a login or a paywall. And as you can see, your sources start to populate over on the left side.
Cool.
Um, One thing you'll notice is I am renaming, so wanted to make this a little more applicable to what we're doing. And you go over, and there was a source here that we brought in. It was a unbelievable web page, but it was behind a paywall, so we couldn't use
Hmm.
it. So I wanted to show how a page like that doesn't work, so we deleted that. So now we're going to show how you bring in a PDF from our computer, and we're going to rename it to something that, again, is a little more applicable. And here we're bringing in another PDF from the web, and again, renaming that. So we're building our repertoire of sources, all different kinds, where we have PDFs and docs, and this is an actual image. So this is maybe you're a student and you've taken a picture of your handwritten class
Mm.
notes. So you can even bring in images and YouTube clips and basically any source that you found or your professor has given you. You can build a notebook with all of these different sources. So I'm
Now
going
it,
to pause
it
it.
it looks at images, right? But it doesn't actually look at the YouTube video, if I understand correctly. Am I right on that, or am I giving people wrong information?
No, you're exactly right. For any basically any multimedia file, any video,
Mhm.
it will only take the transcript of the text. So whatever it could be the most beautiful video in the world, but that's not really relevant. It's only going to take the transcript of the audio,
Okay.
and
N-
that's for YouTube, but any other video that you bring in, and kind of the same thing will happen with audio files as well.
Now, do you know how it treats images on web pages? If it will take any information from that, like whether it's captions or alt text or anything.
If there's text in the images, it'll read that, and then if it has alt
Cool.
text as well.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, as you can see, we have a variety of different sources over in our panel. And so we'll kind of finish bringing in the sources as we build our notebook.
Cool.
Oh, this is just some pasted text. So if you get to the point where you don't even have documents to bring in or sources, you can just paste text in as well.
Mm.
Okay. So over on that left side, that is where we have all of our sources. And I'm going to explain a little bit of the layout here. So now in the middle, we have the chat, and that's where you interact with your notebook. And then on the right is the studio where you produce some outputs. So we're going to stick again over a little bit in the sources. We're going to go through some of these sources that we brought in to build our study guide. You can click on any of the sources so you can see what they look like. If it is a collaborative document, like a doc or slides, you can always resync it. So anytime you bring it in and a change has been made, you can resync it to get the latest version.
Cool.
Okay, so now we're going to work over in the chat, and this is the powerhouse of your notebook. This is where you interact with your sources, and I'm going to pause it right there. This is you interact with it mostly as you would a regular Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or any of those other chatbots you use. That it's a back and forth conversation. So for this study guide, I had asked a question of different ways students can use artificial intelligence, and it gives me 20 different ways that I asked for. And you can follow up, you can save that. So if you click save to note, anything you save will show up in the studio. You can keep going. You can say, give me more, give me other answers. So it's a conversation. So I said, oh, number 5 looked good. Tell me more about that. And it'll come back and
Oh,
it'll
cool.
continue the conversation.
Very cool.
Now, it's always a good practice to delete your chat history so the model doesn't get confused with previous conversations.
Okay.
Now, as any student knows, when you're studying, you get kind of hungry. So I asked for the phone number for Papa John's. Well, the one of the big strengths of NotebookLM is called source grounding. What happens with source grounding is the information you ask for will only come from the sources that are contained inside of your notebook. So right
Mm.
here, I asked for the phone number. Well, it tells me I don't have that answer. The provided sources don't give me that information. And that's what you want to happen. It's not going to
Yeah.
make up answers. It's not going to do things just to please you. It's going to tell you, I don't know the answer, which is exactly what you want. The answers will only come from the sources that you use.
Yeah, which is great because then that allows, you to kind of vet sources you're going to be putting in there first. And as you find reliable ones, that kind of ensures that then in this you're working with, stuff you've already ideally vetted and whatnot.
Which is exactly what I'm showing right there. As you hover over those numbers, those are the citations. So those are the sources you've already vetted. It's if you click on those numbers, it takes you exactly to those sources that you were just describing. So you can see where those answers are coming from.
That's awesome.
Now, another interesting thing is the way you can customize your notebook. So we are going to show 2 different ways to get information. So we're going to say, explain the concept of a neural network. That this is maybe a question you'd want for your study guide, and you'd get
Sure.
a certain answer back. And this is the default customization. But now if we go into where we can configure our chat, we have different options here. So we have the default, which is a question and answer. Then we have the learning guide, which is Socratic, which kind of leads you to the answer rather than giving it to you. And then
Sure.
custom, where you can do any kind of persona you want. You could be a PhD student, you could be a game show host. Well, I asked it to be a kindergarten teacher just to see if the answer would change. Put the
Cool.
same prompt in there, explain the concept of a neural network, exact same prompt, and you can see the answer was exactly how a nice, kind kindergarten teacher that we all remember from our youth would answer and
Cool.
put the terms that in a way a kindergartner would understand. So let's go back and reset it back to our default. So the next topic we're talking about here is you always have to pay attention to the sources that you use. Now,
Sure.
as you can see, I highlighted down at the bottom 17 sources. Those are all the sources that are checked over on the left side of your source panel. So you are conversing with all 17 of those sources. Whatever question you ask, whatever output you ask for is coming from those 17 sources. You can, whether you're having a chat or whether you're producing an output in the studio, they will pull information from the sources that you've asked for. So I asked it to compare something that Ethan Mollick and Sal Khan had said to leading voices on the academic side. And I thought, hey, that's really cool. I want to also save that to a note. I want to see that later when I'm going back through things. But now I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to only pick certain sources. So we're not going to ask about all of our sources now. We're only going to pick certain sources. And again, using the exact same prompt, and what you can see highlighted down there, we are only going against one source. We're only pulling from one source. You see the answer changed. So when I said
Very
compare
cool.
Ethan Mollick and Sal Khan, it said, I can't tell you about Sal Khan, but here's Ethan Mollick's views.
Very cool.
So that's where you always need to pay attention to what you have clicked or checked over in your source panel. So we did a demo of that with the chat, but it's also that has an effect on what you produce over in the studio. Okay. So we're going to move over to the studio now and show some of the really cool artifacts you can produce. Again, I think the chat is what I call the powerhouse. That's where you can really interact back and forth. But the
Yeah.
studio is where you can produce visual and audio outputs. So we're going to go through a couple of these, and we're going to start here with the audio overviews, because this really put NotebookLM on the map a couple of years ago. And you have four different versions of an audio overview. This is the podcast feature, basically. Four different audio overviews that you can do. You have the deep dive, which is a conversation back and forth between two hosts. You have a brief, which is a 3 to 5 minute executive summary of your sources. A critique, which is you can pick a topic and have an expert review. It could be a writing you've done, or an image or audio. Or a
Sure.
debate, you pick a topic and two hosts debate back and forth. So you can, if you have a study guide and you have a topic that you want to learn more about, you can create a podcast on that and listen to it while you're out for a walk or a run. Um, and beyond that, you can pick different languages that you want. So
Cool.
it doesn't have to just be in English. I think there's over 80 output languages now, which is kind of wild. So whether or not you're studying English or a foreign language, or you English is not your your first language, then you can choose the language. And like most of the outputs we're going to show, you can focus the output. So we asked practical ways a college student can use artificial intelligence study for exams. So it's not just going against those sources, it's going against all the sources, and we're focusing on just one specific topic. So
And
right
these
there,
also, I'm assuming, go off of the selected sources.
exactly. It's
Okay.
a really, really good point. And you can ask me that question 14 more times because it's something we want to hammer in.
Sure.
So what I did here is we chose the topic before to create the audio overview. When I went back and we're generating a second audio overview, we went back and NotebookLM suggested a topic for us. So you can see down at the bottom, you can choose some of the suggested topics, and that's what we did.
Cool.
Okay, so it finished generated. finished generating, and now we are actually going to listen to a sample. It's kind of wild. So as you can see, I didn't do a lot of programming. I just said, give me an audio overview.
Welcome to the debate. So last month, a colleague of mine had this, well, a pretty horrifying realization while they were grading term papers.
Oh, I think I know the story you're talking
And
about.
Right.
because
They
we
were
have
reading
no
this
attention
brilliantly
anymore, you can
synthesized
speed it
essay,
up to
with
play
complex
whatever speed you
theoretical
want.
frameworks, but they noticed a strange sort of structural perfection to the text.
The classic AI cadence.
Exactly. Involving high school students in Turkey.
Oh, the math study.
Yes, they had a control group learning math traditionally and an experimental group practicing with a general purpose AI chatbot to be lifting.
I'm really glad you brought up the Bassani study,
It's pretty
actually,
wild.
because it perfectly
Yeah,
illustrates my
that
point.
is pretty
Just not
pretty
in the way
crazy.
you're framing it.
How so?
What that study proves is the profound danger of giving students
And this is
general
coming
purpose
straight
chatbot
from the
tools.
sources.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is focused entirely on you, the college student. We are exploring the data backed, totally proven ways you should be using artificial intelligence to study.
Yeah, and we are synthesizing a really massive stack of sources today,
And
too.
you can download and share these as well.
Very cool.
So those are the audio overviews, and those are for audio listeners if you want things on the go while you're driving or walking between classes or something. So we're going to move over to the slide decks. So now if you are more of a visual learner, you can have your information organized for you in a slide fashion. So you can go through and see the see everything in a visual way. And so there are two different types of slide decks. There's a detailed and a presenter, and it not a big difference. One just has more detail. One is a companion piece. And again, there's the output language, and you can describe anything you want. I even for this one I said use Wake Forest branding, so you can change the
Cool.
style as well. So we're going to go and we're going to look at each of these. So again, these are slides that were just produced,
Wow.
from NotebookLM, and you can see I didn't really put in an extra prompt on that. And
Now,
then if you
now
ever,
I think a lot of times, at least with me, like my instinct is to just like use everything on at hand in terms of like sources for working on something. With whether it's the audio or like these awesome slides, do you get any kind of sense if there is a benefit to being really purposeful with what you select for your sources, or is usually is the prompting enough for it to help it use the right sources?
yeah, that's a fantastic question. Should you make a really in-depth prompt or should you pick the right sources? I think it's a combination of both. I
Okay,
generally like to remove the extra sources so there's not extraneous information, and it also speeds up the generation
that
of
was
some
my
of
next
those
question.
files. Yeah, it
Awesome.
absolutely does. So where I think we have 17 total sources. If you only use two or three, it's going to be a lot faster. Plus, you don't get the extra information that might leak in.
Sure,
Generally,
sure.
when I like to focus on one really, really tight issue, I will use the prescriptive sources and make a really tight prompt as well.
Gotcha.
So, and thank you for asking about the prompt because right here, if you ever create these slides and you're not exactly sure, maybe a couple weeks later, like, what did I put in there? You can actually see the prompt you put in. So you can let NotebookLM actually just create the prompt on its own and just do a generic one, or you can focus it, which is what we did. And we actually said focus on the mechanics of a transformer architecture. So you can see how these slides were made.
Gotcha.
And so this is the one that had the Wake Forest branding in it, as you can see. And if you want to download these, take them on the go, you can download them to either PDF or PowerPoint as well.
Awesome.
And then one of the cooler new features is you can revise these slides. You can't revise them after you've downloaded them, but in NotebookLM, you revise them just by using natural language. So you pick each slide that you want to do. You put natural language, so we put make all text red. So we're checking the other one while that one's generating. So this is again just the other
Wow.
the other the other slide deck. I think this is the more detailed one. But as I was talking about the revisions, so we're going to look at this right now. We just said in English, make the text red for that slide. We didn't have to go through and change it for us. And you notice it only changed that slide because that's the one we asked for.
Very
So
awesome.
again, a really cool visual way to learn your information. So now we're going to look at video overviews, which are basically a combination of the audio overview and the slide deck. So there are again there are three types. Cinematic, which I wouldn't use yet. It's really cool, but it's not there, the quality in there. So there's a brief explainer video, which what this is it's a slideshow with a person talking over it. So a single person who kind of describes what they see on the slides. And then there's a briefing, which is a little shorter. But you have the same options that you do in some of these other outputs. You can change the style. We're going to listen to this.
All right, let's jump right in. Look, whether you're working in a lab, buried in a library, or prepping a lecture, generative AI isn't some far-off idea anymore. It's here, and it's quickly becoming a key partner in research. So today, we're going to break down exactly how you can use it with 10 really practical use cases that take AI
So
from
you
being
can
just a
see
tool
it's
to
a
a true collaborator. Let's take a
slideshow,
for a second. This whole
and
transition
somebody's
isn't exactly
describing
what
the
we thought.
slides
As
and
researchers Johnson
talking
and
about
Hyman
them.
put
So
it, people's
it's
feelings
a
of trusting AI
combination
are, well, they're all over the
of
map.
That's
audio and
awesome.
video.
We need to shift our mindset away from seeing AI as just another app, you know? For something as important as research, augmentation is where the real magic
Wow.
happens. And this quote from a professor at Northeastern University just
And
hit
again, you
absolutely
can
on point.
focus in
Use it
on
as a
just
thought
one
partner,
specific
not a bot
topic, or if
substitute.
you have an exam on one certain thing, you can focus in.
That's awesome.
So you can see over on the left, I'm going over and I want to do a new output and I only want to pick certain sources. So again, it goes back to your question from before. And so here I'm going back to the audio overview and I say, okay, I want to do a study review just on these certain sources. And you
Sure.
can see how it's different. And then you can go in and you can rename these. And I said, okay, this is my technical study guide.
Right now, a computer program that is fundamentally, nothing more than a giant math equation is
So
diving
this
deep
is
and it logs
specific
in
to
and writes down
just
the
those
correct
sources. So
protocol
it's
execution.
exactly
But here's the
the
catch.
question you
It
had
doesn't
just
actually know what a
asked.
single word is.
That's
So, I mean,
awesome.
how is that even possible?
It's honestly the defining paradox of our time, I think.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by these machines that appear incredibly intelligent, yet they're operating on
Okay,
multiple
so we're going to
complex
go
worlds.
here to another visual element. If you want to understand how all of your topics relate to each other, you can do a mind map. And I came in here and I purposely made a mistake. I had left all of the sources unchecked before and then clicked mind map. So it started generating it with just some of the sources. And I didn't want to do that. So I had to go back and I had to delete that one and do
Gotcha.
one with all the sources. So what it does is it organizes all of your sources into all of your sources into different topics in a
Wow.
diagram. And you can then keep clicking down and expand the diagram until you get to a terminal endpoint. And once you click on one of those endpoints, it'll open up a chat. And you can have a chat about that specific terminal topic. And once that chat starts, you can go back and forth again and have a conversation. So it's another great way to visualize all of
That's
your different
awesome.
information. We're going to look at some reports. NotebookLM gives you some suggestions for reports, a briefing document, a study guide, which is obviously very useful, and a blog post. And you can see it tells you how it's making the study guide. You can look down in the system prompt here, and you can even change it. So it gives you the default template, but you can come down and change it as well. And again, you can change the language. And once you generate that report, and while it's generated, we're going to look at some of the other ones, but you have a create your own where you can make whatever you want. And then based on the sources that you have, it suggests different formats down below. So it says, hey, these are your
Wow.
sources. I think you should make these reports. So here's our study guide based on all the sources we had checked. And it creates a quiz for us. It's going to create some essay questions. It's going to give us a glossary, pull out important dates and important people. So it bakes all that information into a full-fledged study guide that you can use as a student.
That's awesome.
And again, if you can't find a format that you like, you just hit
Hmm.
create your own and build your
Hmm.
own. So I think everybody probably understands what flashcards and quizzes are, but we're going to go
Yeah.
through these really quickly. Same kind of things. You can focus these on any topics and choose the sources. But for the flashcards, you click on a card and you have the question on one side and the answer on the other. So question,
Awesome.
answer, and then you can mark whether or not you got it right. And then at the end, you can go through and redo the deck just on the ones that you got right or wrong, or you can shuffle them so you can keep quizzing yourself over and over. And if you ever get somewhere and you don't understand what that answer is, you can click explain, and again, you have a
It's awesome.
conversation. It says, I don't understand that topic. And a quiz, same exact thing with the quiz. All of our same things. We can focus it, we can build the quiz, and it always gives you multiple choice, right? So it gives you a question, it gives you multiple choice answers, and you can just click on them. And
Okay.
so I didn't even read this one. I just clicked an answer. Oh, I got it wrong, but it shows me the right answer. Same thing. Oh, well, I got that. I got that one right. No, no, I got that one wrong. Okay, so but here's what it does. It goes through, and when you hit explain, it says, I'm taking a quiz. I chose this answer. It was wrong. Help me explain the right answer. So it actually says the wrong answer so it can put it in the
Hmm.
context of what the right answer is.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so you have this conversation, right? And it's explaining, but if you don't get the explanation, you can just continue that conversation. I just said, please explain that in another way. Now, obviously, you'd probably do a little better prompt and say, explain it using this or explain this, but I just want to keep it generic, explain another
Sure.
way. Okay, and so this is probably the final really cool visual thing is infographics. These are wild. There's three different types of infographics: a concise, standard, and detail. Concise is a quick short image for maybe like social media or something. A standard would be for like study guide or handouts, and detail
Oh,
would be like
wow.
for a technical diagram. But I use the same prompt and I put these into the three different styles, and you can see same exact information, just different ways. So if you're a student and you learn in different styles, or you process more text versus images, or vice versa, you can really alter an infographic to your style. So different ways to do that. And so the
Wow.
final thing I'm going to show you is a data table. This is mostly useful if you have numbers, but you can also use it to organize information in a tabular format. So this is a table just of author quotes. So popular AI quotes. So you
Hmm.
can, if you have maybe a quiz on something like that, or you want to add these to a paper, you can pull out all of the quotes and have them organized in that way.
Wow.
And finally, the last thing is, because this is your notebook and you can have information from anywhere. Well, let's say you found information, but it's not in a source. You can just put any text you want into a note. You can copy it from a web page somewhere, or it's something maybe that's in your head. Put it even in just a note to yourself. But any kind of information, as long as you can copy and paste it, you can put it into a note, and that'll stay in your studio.
Oh, wow.
So that is a very quick tour of how to build and use a study guide. I think we would recommend that all students use this, build one with all the class materials from your professor, lecture notes, videos,
Yeah.
handouts, web links that your professor gives. So put it all into the notebook, let the notebook organize it for you, and then interact with it. You know, build yourself some quizzes, test yourself, and so I think it's probably one of the most powerful tools a student can use as they learn material and also prepare for assessments in the future.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know, like I mentioned earlier, I believe I'm a big fan of like self-learning and all that in my free time and everything, whether it's hobbies or whatever. And I usually end up with a collection of sources, or if I'm working with, artificial intelligence, I'll have it make me like glossaries and, infographics, whatever. I could definitely see how this should be crazy for leveling up my learning with that stuff too. Because plug it in, and then next thing you know, you could be working out or taking a shower and listening to a podcast about a concept you're struggling with. So
It's so
that's
powerful.
awesome. Yeah, and
Yeah, and like I
I
said,
think I even toyed with it for like, what if I was writing a story and I wanted to keep track of characters, timelines, all that. Also useful. Like,
so many different use cases. Now, we obviously went over one for just a study guide, but there's just
sure.
unlimited number of use cases for it. It's insane.
No, that's awesome. It's those infographics, the one of those infographics alone should tell you a lot about how far AI has come. If you remember when it was putting out more or less like half hieroglyphic, half like
Yeah, all the
letters.
spelling was wrong. Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, everybody
wild.
had 7 fingers and 12 toes.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, like I said, this is probably one of the most useful tools, and we hope this is helpful for students as they use this to study, and one of the really good uses of artificial intelligence.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I think that was a really cool in-depth look. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, send us an email. I'm sure Ryan will be happy to answer that for you about NotebookLM. You could email us at deeks.ai@wfu.edu. Until the next one, I guess.